Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the August 5th meeting of the Lebanon Redevelopment Commission. We'll begin the meeting by calling ourselves to order, and the same way we do with each meeting, which is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation.
Thank you, Commission members. And just a quick update on roll call, Madam Clerk. Dr. Taylor is not with us this evening. He is excused for the night. That will move us straight on to our old business, but I see no old business on our docket. So we'll kick it straight forward to the new business. And this is going to be for resolution 2024-05 and Mr. Ben Bontrager. Tell me more.
I will tell you more. Good evening, Commission members. This resolution is intended to replace a resolution you adopted just a couple of months ago related to the CARD infrastructure project and the grant that the RDC is making to the CDC in order to enter into the agreement with CARD and their bank to make interest payments. So to boil down the changes in a nutshell, the overall amount that was being offered to the CDC by the RDC is still the same. It's the same $1.7 million. Just the timing and structure of the payments has changed a little bit. So the bank has requested or is requiring that 6 months of interest payments be deposited initially on closing with the bank in order to cover those first 6 months of payments. So as opposed to it being a 1 month or 3 month payment, I believe that we had structured before, it's now become a 6 month deposit at the bank. So that kind of boils down the changes to a nutshell. I think there's some other changes that Rob will probably go through with you in terms of how the resolution is structured and the attachments with the construction loan agreement with the bank. But in terms of this, the structural changes to the RDC, it's just the amount and the timing of them. So it would be an initial 6 month payment. And then every 6 months thereafter, there'd be another payment. Obviously, you'll recall that, if Card and Associates sells lots and buys down the principal, then the amounts of those interest payments will change, and that will be evaluated over time as those payments are made. So that's really all I have, and I'm happy to answer questions on that. I know Rob's got some additional information to add on to that for you.
Before we get to Rob, any questions from the commissioners? Rob, you're up.
Thank you, Commission. As Ben indicated, again, we're here before you really just out of some technical requirements from West Banco. And as you may recall, we were contemplating at the end of June that this would be more of a reimbursement obligation. What West Banco is required is that now they wanted to have, as Ben indicated, just an initial 6 months of, in essence, deposits on account. And how it'll work is the developer, Card Associates, is contracted with Meyer Najum for the public infrastructure. And what they will do is submit pay applications. They'll go through West Banco. And at the time that everything's approved, then there will be a draw on the bank account that the Community Development Corporation has set up with it. So on deposit as opposed to a reimbursement agreement. And so at the meeting prior to this, the Lebanon Community Development Corporation approved its resolution 2024-02, which has an Exhibit A, which is a construction loan agreement, and it has all the terms set out there. And the CDC will be a party to that, and will clarify again what it is that it needs to have on deposit. It's not going to exceed, as what Ben indicated, the amount that we discussed at the end of June, which is a maximum amount over a 3-year period of $1,700,000. The amount will be essentially $283,334 every 6 months. And then it is contemplated, as you may recall from the developer, that they will pay down that loan, hopefully in very fast time period, with the sale of lots. And that, so hopefully then that amount, and not to exceed $1.7 million, will actually be less than that. So in essence, we felt that due to just the change of the requirements of the banks, that it made sense to come back before you and have this approved if you desired. And what it would do would be repealing the prior resolution that had the disbursement concept, and instead, go through this construction loan agreement. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. But as Ben indicated, again, the dollar amounts have not changed. It's just more the process and procedure that West Banco is requiring of the developer, and hence the grant agreement.
Any questions for Rob or Ben at this point? Dr. Taylor, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you making time this evening out of your schedule and adjusting.
Yeah, thank you.
So with that then, Rob, do we need to read ourselves into the record?
Yeah, I will, Mr. President. I'll just hit the highlights for you all because it is, substantially similar. So again, Resolution 2024-05 is a resolution of this commission approving a grant to the Lebanon Community Development Corporation. Pursuant to Indiana law, the RDC may provide financial assistance, including grants and loans to neighborhood development corporations. The Lebanon Community Development Corporation is a nonprofit corporation organized and operating pursuant to Indiana law, and it's considered a neighborhood development corporation. Again, Card Associates, the developer, is a limited liability company. It's put together the Fieldhouse project, as well as it's working on the public infrastructure project. And this body has determined that a portion of the project requires financial assistance to ensure its continued development of the public infrastructure. And this Redevelopment Commission has determined it's in the best interest to provide a grant to the CDC pursuant to Indiana law. So further, the project's consistent with the purposes of Indiana law, and the RDC has determined it's now in the best interest to enter into the grant agreement in substantially the form that's attached as Exhibit A. So therefore, be it resolved, again, the recitals are incorporated by reference. In connection with the grant, the RDC will execute and deliver the grant agreement consistent with the terms and resolutions, as well as execute and deliver any such other agreements or other documents, and perform and observe such other actions that are necessary or desirable in connection with the grant agreement. The president of the RDC is authorized to execute and deliver all the agreements and other documents contemplated by the resolution, and what would be approved by this Redevelopment Commission, and absent of the president, the vice president and or secretary are authorized to do this. Again, as I mentioned, Resolution 2024-04 is hereby repealed, and that has been read.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Rob. So now that that is read into the record, I would... Yes, questions?
Do we need two motions, one to appeal the original and then a second to approve the amendment?
If we approve the resolution 05, it is written in that resolution to repeal 04. So it covers us.
Thank you.
If the commission chooses to approve 05. So with that, I would entertain a motion with regards to 2024-05.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution number 2024-05.
I'll second it.
So we do have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify with an aye. Aye. All those opposed, same signal. That motion does carry. Thank you very much. So that one has been formally updated, and moving right along. So the next item on our agenda is a facade grant. And for that, Mr. Derek Warren is going to give us some background.
Thank you, Corey. Good evening, Commission. Tonight, I have a really simple facade grant request. This is at 105 North Meridian Street. Long time building owner in our square. Haas Surveying occupies this building. Start by the COA that was issued by the Historic Preservation Commission is for general maintenance. It is to repaint the facade, matching the existing color, and the replacement of any window and door trim as needed as part of that project. The current owner has done a pretty good job of maintaining it since it had the fire damage caused by the Greek's Pizzeria that burned down many, many years ago. So he inherited a building that's been in decent shape, and he would like to continue to maintain that building and keep it in good shape. So he has applied for the facade grant to help with the painting. Just to give you an idea for those at home who may not know what building we're talking about, this blue building right here next to the Presbyterian Church Pocket Park. You can see the paint is starting to come off the building and needs some TLC there. Nothing changing, just a fresh coat of paint.
Wait, wouldn't the side of that building look good with a mural on it? Just throwing it out there.
All right, the estimate report, which you have in your packet that was received prior to the meeting. Low estimate is from Guy Painting, $16,051.69. Certa Pro Painters is the high bid at $17,834. This puts the applicant in category 1, which is estimated cost of improvements of $0 to $40,000. In this category, the owner's share is 25% of eligible cost, and the grant maximum is 75% of eligible cost. As the resolution reads, this would be an award from the Redevelopment Commission of $12,038.77, with the owner responsible for $4,012.92. The applicant could not be here tonight because of the reschedule of our regular meeting. There were some commitments for the back to school stuff happening this week, so I told him I would run with it and answer any questions that the commission might have.
Thank you very much, Derek. Commissioners, any questions on the project? Okay.
I got one, Derek. We call our program the facade grant program. And the facade is really the front of the building. And here we're looking at the front, the side, and the back. Is that, and I know we have in the past, okay, we've approved that. Is there any chance we can get back to just that we got a facade grant and let's look at just the front of the facilities?
I wouldn't suggest that conversation needs to take place. I mean, what are you going to do with the Heflin building? It has more than one facade.
Well, I mean, it's got 2 sides instead of 4 sides.
3 if you count the alley side.
Well, I'm talking about not counting the alley. That's what I'm talking about.
So you're talking about adjacent directly to a public street.
Anything that fronts the front of the street is the facade. Anything other than that is not the facade.
If you want to define it that way, it would be your prerogative to do that. I think we've gone over this maybe at the last meeting. What's currently interpreted is there's a front facade, a side facade, and a rear facade. Facade is the outside of the building. If it's exposed and seen from the public way, it falls under the HPC's purview. So if you can see it from Main Street and there's a change to the building, it's an application that has to come through them. So it's not limited to, necessarily an alley side or a facade side that's not directly adjacent to a street. So if you want to redefine your resolution, I'm happy to make that change.
I don't know we have to redefine it because it says facade. And a facade, the definition of facade is the front of a building. It's not the side, it's not the alley, it's not what you see down the alley.
But the actual ordinance or the resolution talks about the roof, structural, and everything else. I mean, it's very, even though it's called the facade grant, the details are within what we have approved as a body.
That's correct. Good point, Craig. 25% of the structural elements within a project qualify. Roof qualifies for a 30% grant. So it is defined a little bit more further into the resolution than simply just facade. I mean, I understand what you're saying, Dick. And I'm still going to stick with a facade is defined by the exterior of a building.
I mean, the Oxford Dictionary, I just did a quick search. Oxford is the face of the building, especially the principal front that looks onto a street or open space. So even within our UDO, we contemplate a facade being a street facing. So in this particular building, technically it has two fronts, and that's what we would require through our UDO, because the one that faces, it would be Meridian, and then the side that actually faces Main Street, because it faces Main Street, would be considered a front. So if it were a house sitting there, it would be required to match the front based on our UDO. So in this particular building, it would actually be two, and then one could argue the third would be the alleyway in the back because it's a public alleyway. So
With all due respect, fellow commissioners, we're way in the weeds here.
Yeah.
I think, I agree with the definition of facade is the front of the building. I think that's clearly there, but that's not what we do. We take care of the property in order to enhance its appeal and functionality to the citizens of the city of Lebanon. And so if we got to change a few terms, we'll change them. If not, if it's embedded, I don't think anyone up here is just saying we want to fix the front of the building. But my opinion is if, and I'm not asking for more legal opinion here, but if we can all agree that the facade grant covers what's brought to us, because we've approved paint, we've approved roof, we've approved, I can't even remember how much we've approved. So Dick's spot on. Derek, you're spot on in the promotion of it. I think our intent has always been to improve and enhance the buildings that exist within our jurisdiction of promoting financial support for. So.
Not to stay down the weeds, just to clarify, there is a definition of facade in our Unified Development Ordinance. It's slightly different than the one you suggested. So it indicates the portion of any exterior elevation on a building extending from grade level to the top of the parapet wall or eaves for the entire width of the building. So any exterior of a building is a facade. You just have a front facade, side facades, and rear facades. So our UDO definition of facade would include all exterior sides of a building.
you just wanted to say the word parapet today.
I haven't had a chance to say it yet today.
I'm willing to accept that definition.
All right, Commissioner. So with
Case closed.
with that, in reference to this facade grant request, the staff recommendation is an RDC award of $12,038.77. Do any commissioners care to motion on this item?
Does that cover all four sides?
Three sides.
All three sides.
Three
of
sides.
And that's 17,000, that's all we're into that?
Yeah.
12,000.
Well,
12,000,
yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I know there's some of these buildings that are way more than that. That's my point is, where does the owner of that building, why are we paying them 99% of it and they're paying none?
He's paying 25.
Well, yeah, but even,
He's paying 25, we're picking up 75.
that's what I'm saying, why is that? Why aren't they at least 50-50? I mean, doesn't make any sense.
Category 1 was in the resolution that you all adopted. So it's,
I understand that,
so that's a resolution question, not the application question here tonight.
So in reference to this specific application, do we have any motions?
Except as presented.
So the motion on the table is to accept the staff recommendation of an RDC award of $12,038.77, correct?
Contribution 4,000 and change.
$4,012.92. Yep.
I'll second.
So we do have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify with an aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry. Thank you very much. That takes care of the facade portion of that. Moving on, similar subject. As I mentioned last week, we did have kind of a change in our, what I'll call the net tech building plans. So before us tonight is consideration of an offer sheet for the 124-126 North Lebanon Street, which is the property currently owned by the Redevelopment Commission. And essentially this offer sheet that you've all received a copy of does a little bit better job of defining some of the requirements to not only bid on the building, but also provide at the end that I think will help us navigate through this process much quicker and without any issues. So Ben, you have some insight for us?
You might have jinxed us by saying get through without any issues, but we'll do our best to avoid all issues if we can. So maybe just to take a couple minutes, just kind of let you know how we got to this point. As you know, the proposal from DM Taylor was accepted, and Mr. Matt Taylor began negotiations with the city and with Mr. Shine's office to try to get that project agreement put together. Over several months, they've gone back and forth on that, and Matt decided just in the last month or so that he felt that there was too much risk on him that was baked into the project agreement, decided it wasn't beneficial to him to continue forward with the negotiations at that time. So that was what he kind of indicated to us, that he just needed to step away from it this time. And so then the question was, then do we look at the other two proposals we had received during that process, or do we just start over? And then for a number of reasons, we decided it would be better off for the Redevelopment Commission to start over with the new offer process. First thing is those other two proposals, there are essentially fatal flaws in both of them. The proposal that was a full price offer that had proposed a data center as their primary use. Data centers are not permitted in the downtown zoning district, so that is a pretty significant issue with their proposal. And then the other one had grossly overestimated the amount of grant funding that we made available to them. So we really felt like it was better just to really get into the offer sheet, send it out again, make sure we better define those parameters in there and what we're looking for, and then go back through that bid process again. So that's why we're kind of to this point now is seeking for permission from the Redevelopment Commission to redistribute that request for proposals. So just kind of walk through. Oh, and the other reason we started over is because the original RFP assumed that there would still be a commercial tenant in the first floor of the building that needed to be accommodated. And as you know, that tenant is no longer in the building. So that's another pretty significant change that we wanted to make sure was addressed in the reissued RFP. So just kind of walk through some of the primary things we've done. We've cleaned up the process a little bit. We've actually included a pre-bid meeting to anybody interested. So we will have the RFP that would be posted in the newspaper in August. And then soon thereafter, we'd hold a pre-bid meeting for any interested parties so they can come and ask questions, make sure they get clarification on what we're looking for, make sure they have clarification on the grant funding that may be available to them, to maybe excuse me, to make sure that we hopefully streamline the proposals themselves so we don't have these questions after the fact that came up in this last process. So hopefully we can get those cleaned up in a pre-bid meeting. The other thing we did is we cleaned up the proposal narrative and actually, rather than suggesting just uses that aren't permitted because they're not permitted in the zoning, asked them to focus on certain types of uses in their proposal, like restaurants, performance or entertainment venues, personal services, those sorts of things. So hopefully, again, to try to streamline rather than just saying it has to be a permitted use in the zoning district. These are the types of uses. Certainly not the only uses that might be considered, but certainly where we wanted to focus their efforts on the proposals. And then also clarified some other things like the alignment with city goals. We made sure to highlight specific city documents as opposed to just generally stating city documents and goals. We've actually specifically mentioned the downtown action plan and comprehensive plan, and then the updated zoning ordinance that was adopted in February of this year. So we want to make sure that they knew exactly which documents we're referencing. And then let's see. And then in terms of the grant funding, we've clarified both the facade grant program and the 180 makeover program. And so what we've indicated in here is that the grant award from the Redevelopment Commission will be made part of the project agreement. And so that in that case, then it will be negotiated as part of the project agreement. And then in terms of the 180 makeover program, this building has already been awarded a 180 makeover grant. And so we've spelled out that grant in this proposal and then also the schedule for completion. So the building has been awarded a $150,000 grant from that program. And in particular, the masonry restoration is $110,000, window replacement $40,000. And that assumes a private match of no less than $1.6 million. And then the portion of the project funded by the READY program must be completed by December 31st, 2025. So we made sure to spell that out in there so everybody, anybody who might be interested in responding would understand exactly what that entailed and what they would be required to provide in order to get that grant funding. So, what we've done there is baked in, and one item that we heard back from those that were interested in bidding the last time is we didn't give them enough time to evaluate the building and put together more particular construction budgets. So what we've done then is while we'll have the pre-bid meeting, let me see if I can find the date, at the end of August, we've given the entire month of September and part of October for them to put together their proposals. So we've given them, I believe it's a couple extra weeks than what we had in the original process for them to be able to put their proposals together. And then the proposals will be due prior to the October 15th regular RDC meeting. And so that gives them about 7 weeks from the time that we would hold the pre-bid meeting. The other thing that we've offered, the pre-bid meeting would take place on August 28th. I just found it. And then walkthroughs of the building like we did last time would take place the same day as the pre-bid meeting. And we've also offered if potential bidders need more time with the building that they can schedule time to go back and visit it again and take contractors through. And that's something that we wanted to make sure we baked in there also, that they could do that if they needed more time to evaluate those buildings with actual general contractors that they wanted to bring onto the site. So that's it in the nutshell. We just wanted to try to streamline the process a little bit, be more specific about what we're looking for, hopefully streamline the proposals for you so you get more apples to apples comparisons as opposed to what we had last time where it was really difficult to compare them to each other. They're all very different. So hopefully we get a little bit better proposals this time. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. But really what we're asking for you tonight is permission to distribute this RFP, and it will be posted on August 10th and August 22nd, and we go from there.
Then I got one question is why we're making the second floor just kind of like strictly residential. What if a guy come up and wanted to make different office space or something uptown, or put in an incubator or something upstairs or something like that?
I think and that's why I said that we strongly prefer proposals, because this doesn't mean it's required to be residential, but certainly with our limitations on housing options in Lebanon, we certainly wanted to try to see if it made sense to keep those as residential units as opposed to the transition to office. I mean, there might be a market for some office. We don't really see it right now necessarily, but that was really the focus, is saying that we strongly prefer proposals that maintain the residential units, but that doesn't preclude somebody from looking at an alternative necessarily.
Other questions from commissioners?
I appreciate the efforts to be more facilitating to the proposals. If it'd be possible to create a timeline so we could have that in hard copy or in the Google Doc or whatever, that would help. So we know specifically where we're at. It's into August. Well, I think you said 28, and you're going to give them a time to come back. I think all that's great. That'll hopefully enhance so we have more realistic proposals that are not forcing us as a commission to guess and plug and play, and not forcing you to counter. So I would just, for me, it would be good to know we got this, and here's our cuts, and here's our times, and give them as much time. Let's do it right this time. Finish it up. Get someone in there that's really going to make a significant difference to that property. But I do appreciate your efforts to consider some of the things that were I felt were shortfalls in our last process.
Yeah.
Also ask about the outside of the buildings on the north side and on the east side, like we did the last time. Needs to go back to like the way it was originally.
Yeah. I wasn't terribly specific, but what I did say is that the facade project will restore the building to its historical exterior condition. So I wasn't maybe as specific as your question, but I did indicate there that we did want to see that the facade would be restored to its historical condition.
And the 180 grant would essentially require it as well. So if they're going to seek that reimbursement, it would require masonry specific.
Ask that question again like they did the last time.
Yep.
Yeah, and we can make sure if anybody asks that question in the pre-bid meeting that we're very clear about that too, or we're wanting it restored to the original historic condition.
Any other questions from commission?
Is the pre-bid meeting being made mandatory? Because as I read it, it doesn't seem to be, but I think it would be very beneficial for us.
Yeah,
to
we
make it
can
a
make that
mandatory
change before it goes out.
that
Yeah, I didn't put in there
respondents
mandatory,
must-
but I can see that would
Because
be
then if
helpful.
we're not going to, I mean, if we need to modify something else between after, because we find out we have nobody showing up, then we have time to redo and refigure it out. And just make sure everybody's hearing the same thing.
Okay. Yeah,
Ben, could you speak to the advertising process? How are we going to get this out, this information, just so we have a robust, hopefully, multiple
yeah.
proposal submissions?
So the required bidding process by state statute is that it's advertised in the newspaper two times. What we are likely going to do in order to get meaningful responses is go through our proverbial Rolodex and find people that we think might be interested. We did that to an extent last time, but I think we need to probably just go deeper into that Rolodex a little bit and actually ask people if they'd be willing to consider it. I've got a few people in mind I might reach out to here pretty shortly. But if anybody has any other ideas, we certainly are open to any and all of them.
Do we access social media at all?
We can.
I don't know if we do. I know we've got a lot of good visibility on social media. A lot of event advertisement, a lot of notification. I mean, you're talking to the gray head guy in the room, so that's not my go-to. But I can also tell you, newspaper doesn't fly anymore.
No, it does not.
So
And
that's just, we're wasting our ad dollars, to be honest. Nothing
Yeah,
against our
I
local
would say
paper.
of the three we got, pretty much all three of them were aware of this because we had contacted them, not because they saw it in the
And
paper.
I think that's good. I don't have a problem with that. I just don't, if there's somebody with a lot of this going on here in Lebanon, if there's someone through the Economic Development Commission, the Indiana Economic Development Commission, I mean, who knows? I'm asking the question. I'm not asking for the inclusion, but I think it's something we might consider.
Right. So
It doesn't hurt to put it on social media. That's probably the appropriate answer to that question. Will it connect us with the right people, meaningful people? I don't know, but it won't hurt to put it on social media. I think the biggest thing is for us to just get it in front of people and ask them if they would consider a response.
Yeah, I will tell you, I've had 2 folks reach out to me personally already after hearing that it may change. So, and one of those individuals was not involved in round 1. So it is new interest. And then also based on that, I know a couple of organizations, obviously Heart of Lebanon would be very excited about having options. And then the Boone Economic Development Corporation would welcome that with open arms as well. So I'll make sure
I
we
guess I
kind
just
of,
want to make sure I can address the issues of transparency without a question.
Yep.
You know, I agree. Your best contacts are those when you reach out because you pretty much know what you're getting into. But then sometimes that comes back as well. You know, here we go back to the good old boy system, so to speak. And I think in order to counter that, just say, hey, we've put this out. You know, if you found it good, if you didn't, good. But we did multiple initiatives to try to solicit proposals that we felt were appropriate and viable. I mean, a couple of those proposals, I'll be honest with you, that we got last time, I didn't think were viable at all.
Right.
It was a shot in the dark.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a good point.
That's my point. I'm not saying we
Absolutely.
shouldn't reach out. Personally, I don't think it should be that formal, but I think in order for us to say to whoever might ask, it was an open process. There was no smoke and mirrors, and this is what we wanted.
that's a good point. I like that. I'll make connections with a couple of those organizations that we mentioned.
And Ben does a great job. I don't have a problem with that.
We've got city Facebook, mayor's Facebook page. We can get it out to Boone EC to post it on their social media as
And you
well.
may get nobody, but I appreciate the effort. All right, thank you.
Good
Yeah,
deal.
we will certainly do that. And I will just, Craig, to kind of go back to your question, if you guys were to make a motion to allow us to release this, I will add in there that it will hold a mandatory pre-bid meeting before we would release that.
Can I just ask what the concern was, that the hangup was, and is there validity in us showing what our agreement, if it's something within our agreement, is there something to be said that include that with the package so they can see the draft language is going to be, they're going to have to be executing?
Yeah. I've been chewing on that actually, whether we at the pre-bid meeting just say, hey, here's a draft of
Correct.
the project agreement.
Their specifics will be in it. I realize that there's going to be other
Yeah.
things, but some of the
The general
language that's in
structure.
the general structure would be in there so they would know what they're getting into as well.
Well, I think one of the big things that we addressed was a little bit on the timeline. Timeline became an issue because obviously being in the downtown district, there was different hurdles they have to face. And then the other was more in terms of the investment and how it was viewed from each side. So I don't know that disclosing that differently would really change that. I think that was kind of a nature of the beast that we got into on round one. So I don't think fundamentally that would have made a difference. And then I think we did address a portion of it with the dates and timeline on the grant requirements.
I would agree with you, Craig. I think, maybe we clean up the draft that we've got now, and just if somebody shows a pre-bid meeting, say, hey, here's what's expected of you. Here's the clawbacks the city's going to be asking for as part of this process. If you agree with them, great. If you don't, you probably don't want to submit.
Comment.
Yeah, and I think that we could do all that subject to commission approval moving forward on, what and how many bidders we may get and to be able to authorize, because I think we do have a good, what I would say, template project agreement that would, have fundamental reporting requirements and, approval process, timing requirements, as Mr. Coots indicated. And Ben, what I would suggest based upon the discussions, if the commission would be desirable, is if it wants to authorize the release of the RFP based upon the comments, to allow the president of the commission to work with Ben and Derek and any other staff, as well as legal counsel, to finalize, and incorporate these comments to issue it, which I think were all good comments to clean it up if the commission desires.
Also have to figure out what we're asking for that, right?
The amount?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in here. It's in here.
495 still.
Yeah, 497.5 or what it is. Yeah.
And that was based on the appraisals we got.
That's based on
correct?
two
I mean, that's
appraisals.
all by statute, regulation and
Yep.
statute.
Yep.
The high, the low, and we got the middle or whatever it comes out to. Yeah, that I'm not.
Yeah, and I think, and again, when we get in the pre-bid meeting, we can emphasize that we're looking for a full price offer, and so here's what it'll take to get that. That doesn't mean somebody couldn't bid less than that, but
They don't get anything less, but they don't got a very good chance of getting it.
yeah, I mean, we obviously have to take that into consideration. But yes, I think we can emphasize a lot of these things in the pre-bid meeting and get a lot of these things cleaned up. Expectations.
Not a long time. I'm not looking
Yes.
for low balls on this. I'll be honest. So I think you've got a good process and procedure in place, Ben. I appreciate that. Property, in my opinion, every time I drive by it, I'm thinking, it's good property, and I think it would enhance downtown and enhance some of that. It seems like everything's gravitated to the east side of the square, in my opinion, and it's to happen. Well, we could open up, come a little north. Good. Yeah.
Good deal. So with that, commission, I think the ask tonight would be a consideration to proceed with the offer sheet and allow myself as well as staff and Rob to kind of polish it up a little bit and get it advertised and going. So if the commission is good with that, I would entertain a motion either direction.
I'll make the motion to proceed with it as noted, with giving you the authority to to make modifications with staff. Yeah.
Polish it up a little bit. Make sure the legal team's happy.
However you put that in a motion.
I'll second his motion.
We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify with an aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry. Thank you, folks. And I believe that then takes us to completion of our new business. We've got 2 items left. Number 1 would be to pay the claims. The claims were not submitted.
So we don't do claims in special meeting.
Great. We did so good at that one. We're going to move right on to my favorite of the evening. Yeah. But we haven't gotten a copy. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So we'll address the claims at the next regularly scheduled meeting. Real quick before I would entertain a motion to adjourn, given that we did have this meeting 1 week prior to the regularly scheduled meeting, we have exhausted all of our agenda items. So we will be canceling the August 12th Redevelopment Commission meeting. So the next regularly scheduled meeting will be in September. Okay. And
But do we need to pay the bills, right?
Well, but can we provide yes, I think, I was going to ask, can we provide an authorization for any bill to be paid between now and our meeting? And
she's got the checkbook.
yeah, well, yeah.
Well, yeah,
I'm
but
just
then
saying,
you
I think it would be good
ratify it at
if
the
we
next-
gave authorization for her, since I concur, we don't need another meeting.
Right.
I didn't know we weren't meeting.
And we're
until
good.
September 9th
Yeah.
until I just got here.
Right.
So do we need that, or is that just to go because you got the checkbook?
No, I would rather.
So we would then entertain a motion to pay
Pay the claims,
claim.
which would be ratified in September.
As needed, yes.
So
I
we
second
have-
that.
We have the motion by Craig, second by Dr. Taylor. All those in favor, please signify with an aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That does carry. Now on to the favorite. We've got is that a motion? We've got a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. We will see you in September.